Why does my master still sound wimpy? I'm slamming my limiter, my meters look loud, but next to my favorite metal tracks, it still sounds like a wet noodle. What am I doing wrong? I like to mix and master in the same session. Other people like to render things out and have things in different sessions. That's completely fine. It doesn't matter, but the concept remains the same. Mastering is all about processing everything together all at once. I'm going to set up a master bus here, and I can come over here to my master bus or my main bus or my stereo bus or 2-bus. They're all the same thing. They're just called something different. We want a handful of things here on our master bus. Typically, you're going to find a limiter. Most people are going to have a limiter on their master bus to kind of bring things up overall. Now, the problem is as soon as you hit the limiter, you're going to bring the volume up, but it's not going to sound nearly as loud as some of your other mixes. Let's first grab L4, which is a common waves maximizer limiter. And what I'm going to do is I am going to bring down the threshold, and I'm going to bring the ceiling to -0.1. Now, this is really important. We want the ceiling at -0.1 no matter what limiter we're using. The reason is small phone speakers, Google Home speakers, and some consumer-grade devices can't replicate 0. It used to be -0.5, then we would set things to -0.3. And for a while now, it's been at -0.1 because Spotify, Apple Music, and a lot of those other platforms will be able to kind of like make up for that change in volume. But we want to make sure that we're not going above 0. So we always set our ceiling here to -0.1. And that ceiling is the actual signal that's coming through. Now, that's the first caveat here, which is you're like, my meters look great. I'm hitting -0.1, but it's still not as loud as I want. And that's where the second section comes in here, which is LUFS, LUFS. Now, this is something that this limiter won't tell you. Is they're going to show you the LUFS, but it's not going to tell you exactly what the LUFS actually means. It's kind of hidden behind a couple other things. They just kind of they're kind of hoping that you assume or you don't care. So what LUFS means is loudness unit full scale. I think of it like a roller coaster. So imagine we have a roller coaster here. We got some ups and downs and some overall stuff here like this, right? And we have our little guy riding on the roller coaster right here. So he's going down here. He has having some fun, but he's coming up high and he's coming way down low. And so like I think of our music as a roller coaster. Now what happens is your song is like this, and what you do is you try to slam it with some limiting and try to get some control over this. And so you're kind of like bringing everything up overall, but like you can't go above that threshold line. Your guy may get to that, -0.1 a handful of times. But in a professional mix and master, specifically in the rock and metal space, the EDM space, and it's going to be different depending on the genre that you're in. So please keep that in mind. You should absolutely be grabbing reference tracks in the genre that you're in, drag it into your DAW, and see where they're hitting in their levels and go from there. But for now, for this argument, because I have a rock and metal song that's kind of in my DAW right now, I'm going to use that as an example. Specifically in that genre, most of these peaks are actually going to be up here. So our song is going to be a lot more closer to that top end. We're actually kind of killing some of the dynamics in this case, but we're getting a louder mix overall. And this is where LUFS comes into play. Let's play this song here and let's take a look at what we have. So if you see here, we're hitting -0.1, right? Let me turn off this limiter and let me turn on my mastering chain that I have and listen to how much louder it actually sounds now. But wait a minute, Andrew, you're probably asking. It's still at -0.1. The actual signal hasn't gotten any louder. So what gives? How is this actually happening? Well, the difference is LUFS, loudness unit full scale. And so we had to create this thing called a loudness unit because there's a thing called perceived volume. There's the signal that's coming through, and you saw that -0.1 was the signal coming through. We had to create a thing called loudness unit full scale. And when I say we, I mean the people in the music industry that have been doing this for a long time. We had to create some sort of loudness unit because we hear things differently. Even though the signal was the same, the second mix, my mastering chain sounded way, way louder. So how is that even possible? So loudness unit full scale, they created a loudness unit, and they have a thing called a K weighting filter. And you can down here see there's a weighting section. And then there's what's called a K weighting filter. And so what it does is it puts a filter because 100 decibels of 100 hertz or 50 hertz sounds way different than 100 decibels of 4K, for example. So we have to kind of create this weighting filter so that way as it's listening to the signal, it's giving a weight to it. So that way it kind of emulates more closely to what humans can hear. Once again, like I'm going to go very specific. I'm going to get very nerdy, and then I'm going to show you how to actually like implement this for yourself. Let's take a look at what our LUFS are. We have long-term, short-term. This is a ridiculously loud mix. I probably don't need to go this loud with it, but let's take a look. -4 LUFS is stupid loud. Like that is not necessary at all, not even close to necessary. But for the for the sake of argument here, I'm showing you what that is. So we have a really loud mix. Now, once again, we're still hitting that -0.1. Let me turn off my mastering chain that I have here, and let me just turn on the limiter that we had before, still hitting that -0.1. And we can see that our LUFS is now at like -10. So -9, -10, which is the limiter. Then with the mastering chain, -4. Even though we still hit -0.1 on the actual master bus on the way out. That's the difference between actual peak volume, the signal that's coming through, and your LUFS, LUFS, or loudness unit full scale. The loudness unit full scale actually shows you the perceived volume. It's a way better way of actually understanding how people will actually hear stuff. That's that perceived volume. Definitely use a LUFS meter if you don't already. So now you're like, okay, Andrew, I get it. There's LUFS, loudness unit full scale. I understand this. Now what do I do? Let's actually break this down. There's typically 3 tools that I like to have on my master bus. The first is some type of clipper. The second is some type of compressor. And then third is a limiter. And that's typically what I go for and what I shoot for. You can also add a fourth one, EQ. Sometimes I need EQ as well, but typically this is what I go for. So the clipper is going to clip any of those transients that are coming through. This will actually give us a ton of headroom. Now, if you're seeing that I have a gain plugin here at the beginning of my master bus, that's just a gain plugin. I like to change my gain structure up or down depending on how it's actually reacting to the compressor. So the more signal you send through the mastering chain or the less signal you send through the mastering chain, the more it's going to sound different. And once again, it could be better, it could be worse, but it's just definitely going to sound different. So I always like to have a gain plugin at the beginning of my master chain, and then I adjust it up or down until I feel like it's sounding really, really good. That's just something I've been doing for a while, and I really like it. I can change my gain structure at any point in time with a simple plugin. I want to grab the clipper, and I want to control some of those snare drums, specifically the snares. There's a lot going on there in that snare, and that snare will kind of peak up, and I want to clip it off. So you can see that snare's poking up through. Even though I want it that loud, clipping is just going to take that transient and it's going to clip it off. So then it's giving me a little bit of headroom. Then I'm going to go into my compressor. Sometimes I will do my compressor first and then my clipper. Sometimes I'll do clipping first and then my compressor. It's just, I go back and forth all the time. It's really easy to just like switch the order of plugins. Like, look at how easy this is. Boom, boom. It's so easy. And so when people are like, what should go first? It's like, just try it. Test it out, see what works best, see what sounds best. Sometimes this direction sounds better. Sometimes clipping first sounds better. Then sometimes compression first sounds better. It's going to be different per song. But look how easy it is to just switch and test. So if you're ever wondering, like, what order should I put my plugins in, test them. just see. It's so easy to switch it and see what sounds better and make a decision for yourself. That's all part of being a mixing and mastering engineer, all right? Being a producer. We get to make creative decisions sometimes. Now that we've got this set up, we are at a compressor, and I'm shooting for around -1 to -2 dB of gain reduction. So a ratio of 4 to 1 is what I have. I have my release set to a little bit faster, and then I'm just bringing up my threshold until I'm getting like -2 dB of gain reduction, maybe a bit more. And then I have my makeup gain, bring it up. So I'm cutting it by about 1.4 dB. So now I'm using my makeup gain to boost it. And so I'm getting a little bit more control over this. So once again, my clipper and my compressor are getting control over those peaks and is giving me more perceived volume and more headroom to go into my limiter. And once again, then here I'm using Infected Mushroom Pusher. So I'm using a limiter, and that's how I'm able to get that really loud mix, right? But the kicker here is the clipper. And I'm using Kilohertz clipper. It's free. It's phenomenal. And I think it's one of the best, most transparent sounding clippers there are out there. And then I'm using a compressor to kind of get control over that. And yeah, -5. That's plenty loud enough. So once again, always make sure that you're bringing in your own reference tracks, figuring out like your favorite songs, what LUFS are they hitting at, and that's what you should be hitting at as well. because you already know you like it. You already like how loud that is. You already like the sound of that. You already like how squashed or not squashed the dynamics are. So have a reference track in mind before you start like looking at a LUFS number and saying that that's perfect.